Social media is changing. That's not a surprise. Social media is changing every day. If you're watching this video when it was released, it has changed. If you're watching it a week from now, it has changed. If you're watching it a month from now, social media has changed. And in 2025, after the research I have done, there are plenty of changes right now, and I'm here to talk about them. So let's get into it. My name is Zablon, and welcome to the ride. So here are some of the changes to think about, like who creates the content, number one, how the content is consumed, and how the content is made. In the last few years, the phone has been the ultimate king of content consumption, where you watch your movies through YouTube, Netflix, where you watch your images, where you see images through Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. But now all that is changing. We are moving on to a new direction because of new devices. Think about the AR glasses, think about Vision Pro, the VR material, think about experiential experience. So things are changing, and social media as a content producer for yourself, for your brand, and for your business is changing completely. So I'm going to walk you through some of the things that I think that you need to consider moving forward in 2025. When it comes to big brands, they follow brand guidelines. They talk about colors, they talk about themes, they talk about how an image should look like, and they normally come out perfect, well curated, beautiful stuff. Whenever you see a brand outlook or a brand product, you go like, wow, this is amazing. But now that is changing. We can't be, people are not relating anymore to that. People aren't relating to perfect images or perfect views or perfect sunsets. As a consumer, you have to think about, as a content creator, you have to think about your consumer and how they feel about the content you're producing. And that is why brands have their main channel where they produce all the original stuff and all the amazing stuff. And then they have other channels where they produce stuff that is not so perfect, and they try to get people to relate and engage with. They have brand ambassadors where they test out their new content, the stuff that is not so perfect, that is not so photoshopped, that is not so overdone, and see how it relates and how it people consume it and how people engage with it. And when the content is positively engaged or positively reacted to, they decide to, let's do this, let's bring it to our main channel and share with our people. Well, I'm sure people are tired of listening to this, but AI is coming in social media. Now we have AI influencers. AI influencers are bots that are created for two reasons. One that resembles what the brand ideal wants to be, and then number two, one that resembles the ideal buyer persona. With the first one, where they have AI for the brand and AI for the ideal consumer, they create content that is engaging 24/7. They're not tired. They come up, they scour the web and see what people might like to engage with, and they post that stuff. With the second one, they think about the pain, they think about the solution they're providing and look for ways of addressing it so that people can relate with them. Brands are really cool. AI influencers have been helpful. A couple of brands, like for example, there's Lil Michaela, who has been doing wonders for content creation, coming up with being readily available to respond to comments, being readily available to respond to DMs. Another reason why people or brands are considering using AI influencers is because of no contracts, so you don't have to pay somebody. Number two, no scheduling conflict. Once you come up with a schedule, they follow it up, then you are assured there'll not be any issues with regards to anything that you would feel that will affect your brand. So AI influencers are a way to go for some of the bigger brands. Another point that I'd like you to consider when you're thinking about how social media is changing in 2025 is how people are moving away from perfection. I've just mentioned in my previous point how AI is taking over content creation for bigger brands. and now people are more attracted to authenticity. If you go through Pinterest right now, you see so many images that look amazing and perfect. Like, for example, think about garden photos or interior designs. You know, when they look so perfect, you feel like there's something that is missing, that is not natural, and many people are not resonating with that. So now, what's working is bloopers, wrong color angles, or how the camera has been placed, or how the photo has been placed, or how the material has been displayed in an image that's been captured. That makes it feel more natural, that makes it feel authentic, and that's what the consumer is coming up with. Is sorry, that is what the consumer is connecting and feeling more, feels more natural to them. So in your in your attempt to create perfect content, try and let your humanity in, try and let your mistakes in, try and let some errors here and there, bloopers or some corrections, so that when somebody is consuming your content, another human being, because at the end of the day, human beings are the ones consume this content, and they go like, wow, okay. They may not say it, but they feel drawn towards it, as opposed to something that is made up in the mind of an AI machine. How social media is changing again, it's by the new positions being created, like chief creative officer, that creating officer in bigger brands. You find that companies are choosing to move away from agencies and come up with somebody that is in-house, and that person is tasked with coming up with content that will work with the audience. Why they're doing this, they want to do this so that they come up with authentic, beautiful, and experiential stuff. Like, for example, what Starbucks is doing with the coffee campaign. What is the campaign called? Let me check. Yeah, Starbucks is doing global coffee creator. John Deere is doing the tractor officer. So these guys are going. The guy for Starbucks is going around the world sampling different coffees, coming up with his own contemporary comments, and talking about how different coffees around the world are. The guy for John Deere is experiencing farming for himself, talking to farmers, giving out his opinion, giving out his views, see how other farmers are doing it. And again, this is brilliant, and this is natural, and this is amazing, especially for the consumer. And there are people who follow those brands, they go like, wow, this is something I'm into, this is something I'd love to follow. So yeah, bigger brands have created these positions or these jobs for their company, for better connecting with their audience. So two more points. This is in regards to length of content and how brands and how businesses are connecting with their audiences. There is the short, there is the long, there's the deep. Short content is TikTok and Instagram content, which is like a minute, 2 minutes, very short stuff, or even shorts for YouTube. Why do they do this? They come up with this content to push or try to get new people into their brand, people who don't know about them, people, cold audiences, people who never heard them. They use TikTok because TikTok is amazing. It spreads your content to people who don't even know you or never heard about you, but they get to experience your brand for the first time. This works well also with Reels for Instagram, especially if you're using trial Reels. YouTube Shorts is also well known for spreading content to new audiences. And the reason for this is for brand building, awareness, and recognition. Once you've gotten your new audiences and they come to your page or your channel or your social media profile, now you create a bit longer content. Why do you make a bit longer content? This content is for education, adding value, entertaining, building trust. Once you have them for like 5 to 10 minutes, you can talk more about your product, you can talk more about your challenges that you faces, you can talk about obstacles that will keep people from buying your products, maybe the objections. When somebody says that your product is too high or this is too expensive, you go like, nope, it's not, because of I bring this kind of value, and this can be gotten through long-term content. Now, the other Other form of content is deep content. This is where you have like an hour or an hour and a half where you sit down and you educate your clients about what you do, what your products does, what your service solves. This is amazing where people can get a real in-depth understanding of what you do. Again, this is all about building trust. This is all about adding value. And then again, the people who consume your content are more predisposed to buy your product or service. They see you as an expert, they see you as an authority, and go like, by the time you're going to them to sell or asking them to buy, they already know you, they already trust you, and they go like, wow, this is somebody I can work with. So that's a form of content that is going on. So short, long, and deep. The last thing I want to talk about is how content is being consumed in terms of devices being used. Right now, we have AR glasses, we have VR machines, we have video game consoles, we have TVs, we have phones, we have laptops, as in anywhere. In fact, we even have projectors. So, obviously, in the past, there was just very few ways of consuming content. There was the radio, the TV, and that was it. But now, because of the advent of technology and things are changing all the time, introduction of that one again, AI, there is so much that's available and so much ways to consume the same content. Let me talk about AR glasses, especially the ones from Facebook. You can use them when you're looking at a building or a restaurant or a coffee shop. What it brings up to you, it brings you reviews, it brings you comments, it gives you like the menu, so you get to understand like what's happening here, what's available, and how you can take advantage of this. When you talk about VR machines, we have the thing from Meta again. We have what's the other company called? Sony have a VR machine, and I'm forgetting one company, but yeah, all these VR machines are new ways of consuming content. Well, honestly, I'm really drawing a blank at the last company and it's tip of my tongue. Apple have a VR headset. So now, if people are going to consume content through these machines, so how we as content creators, how are we coming up with content? Like what form factor are we using? Are we using landscape? Are we using portrait? Are we doing videos? And if you're using videos and all this, how are they be consumed by these new mediums? At the end of the day, we'll always come back to our phones because our phones are our central hubs, because that's where we have everything. But when you stretch it out further to these other machines or these other devices, like how is it going to be consumed? That's something that we all have to consider. And as far as technology takes us, as far as it advances, we have to think ahead on how our content or how our stuff will be consumed. Well, in the words of the famous Gary Vee, social media is not just a thing to think about, it's a way of life now. As content creator, as social media providers, as digital marketers, this is something that we have to really get into and think about how the landscape is changing and how it's moving on forward, and how best we can position ourselves and leverage the new tools to make better decisions to ensure our content is seen by as many people as possible, consumed as much as possible, and at the end of the day, it's bringing value to our users or our subscribers. With that, I'm going to say goodbye and get out of here.